Episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman. And before we get started, I want to remind you guys that we're getting ready to launch Fitness Business Accelerator, FBA, which is my signature beginner to business course. So if you're listening to this and you've been listening to a few episodes and you're like, yes, I think I might want to work with Jill, or I might, really want to do this for real, this is going to be for you. And the wait listers are for those who are sort of ready. Now, again, there's no obligation to be on it, but if you are on the wait list, you're going to get early details as well as an exclusive discount that no one else gets. And I don't want you guys to miss out on that. So go to jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. We have this launch coming up here in a couple months. Everyone on the waitlist is going to get preferential treatment. So make sure you guys are on there. jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. Okay. So today, love this question. This is a question from Sal, shout out my girl. And it was a really astute question. And, it was about the future of coaching. She said, in your opinion, what is the future of online coaching? And I thought this was so good because, like anything, trying to predict the future, obviously, no one could have predicted that COVID would happen, that people would be coming online, that people would be leaving the gyms, just so wild to think. But so anytime it's like, what's the future of coaching? Obviously, no one can know for sure. But I thought this was a great question because, of course, the space is always changing. The way people are consuming content is changing. What people want to see is changing. Their attention span is sort of decreasing. They're just being bombarded. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say their attention span is decreasing. I think they're just being bombarded with more information. And so because of that, their attention is sort of split in a lot of different ways. But at the end of the day, a lot of things stay the same. And I'm going to go into sort of what I'm seeing currently and what I think might be moving through here in the next few years. But what we are sort of seeing is that people will always want transformation, right? People still want to lose weight. People still want to get stronger. People still want to, not be obsessed with food. People still want that health and fitness transformation. It's $1 trillion industry. Like, health and fitness isn't going anywhere. So if you are thinking about putting down your footprint online and starting a health coaching business or a habit change or a nutrition coaching business or something like that, there's space for you. I think sometimes it can feel as though it's completely saturated. And I remember feeling that way in 2012. I'm like, there's so many people doing this. And now, of course, it's 10 years later and still there's plenty of room. So the good news is that of course the space is becoming more saturated, but hiring virtual coaches is becoming more and more commonplace. We're definitely seeing this in stuff like Peloton, which is obviously a virtual trainer. We're seeing this in apps where people are getting, there's habit change apps, there's, workout apps. Like every single person who's an influencer has an app right now, but people are getting used to these interfaces. They're getting used to working with coaches or doing workouts from these virtual platforms. And so the fact that there's now more potential clients is also a good sign. There's more trainers, more coaches online, but there's also more potential clients. But what's really interesting about that is because virtual coaching is becoming more commonplace, you're getting potential clients who have already had multiple experiences with online coaching. So back in 2011, 2010, 2012, when I was doing coaching, I was like a lot of people's first online coach because it was so new. And it's funny because at the time it didn't feel new because I was a competitor. I was a figure competitor. And pretty much all competition coaches were online because you were just like, you want to work with the best and they live in fucking Ohio. So you're like, well, I guess I give them money and get my plan that way. So for me, it was sort of commonplace, but the average person, it's not that commonplace. But now that we're, 10, 15, 20 years into internet business, you're getting people who have had more experiences with online coaches. So they might have some preconceived notions about how it's supposed to go. They might have had bad experiences that they're sort of lumping you into. Oh, well, this is an online coach. I worked with someone online before and it was the worst. And then you're like, fuck, okay, now it's a marketing challenge for you. It's a challenge for you to overcome that. They have misconceptions. They have baggage. They have a bunch of things that didn't work. So they're coming to you and going, oh, you have an app? Well, I've already done an app and it didn't work for me. So you have to put your marketing hat on and get good at pivoting away from maybe some of the bad experiences they've had. So as a business owner, realize not only are you going to have to get more niched, right? You're going to have to get more niche because you can't be for everybody. in order to stand out, you need to have a specific person that you're trying to attract, even more specific than a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And you also have to be good at explaining what exactly you do and the transformation that you facilitate in a tangible way, because people go, oh, I've done that before. Oh, I've tracked before. It didn't work for me. Oh, I did intuitive eating. It didn't work for me. Oh, I used an app before. It didn't work for me. So they have some bad experiences that now they're coming to you with, and you're like, now it's even harder to sell them. So this is why I think coaches can't just be coaches. Y'all have to be good at, you have to be getting better at business all the time. So what we are seeing, and I think this is really interesting, is we're seeing sort of two camps of people online as clients. We're seeing people who want more support, and we're seeing people who want minimal support. And it's actually really interesting because in FBA, we actually have both. So FBA is a program where you work with me for 6 months. Every single week we meet as a coaching group. And what we're seeing is about half of the people are like, yes, I love the FaceTime. I want to be on the calls. And they show up every single week for 6 months for 2 hours on these calls, right? And it's like very high touch, very strategy heavy. We have a great time. And that's about half of the people who sign up for FBA. The other half of the people who sign up for FBA are like, just give me the information. I'm good. I just want the trainings. I want the tutorials. I want to listen to them in real like time and my time. I don't want to have to be on a call. So we're actually adjusting FBA the next time we run it to have both offers, both options. You can either just get the trainings and do it on your own and do it in your own time and have lifetime access to the course, or you can sign up to coach with me. So we're actually going to do both options to sort of feed what we're seeing in both camps. So either high support or low support is what most people are requesting. This means that we're going to have to do those options. There's always going to be people in your audience. And luckily it's not always going to be a ton of people, but you're always going to have people in your audience who want a ton of FaceTime with you, a ton of support, a ton of conversation. They want high FaceTime. They want high ticket. They want a premium offer. So this is where I'm giving you permission to go high ticket. And I heard this coach say this a couple of months ago, and I was like, that's really interesting. And I think it was a little bit sensational, but I don't doubt that it's kind of moving in this direction. He said, anyone who's charging less than $1,000 a month is going to get left behind. Anyone who is charging less than $1,000 a month is going to get left behind. And I remember being like, yeah, probably not. But the sentiment, I feel like, I don't think you're going to get left behind. I think that's just like sensational and like, fear mongering. But what I do think is that he has a point. I think people are willing to pay for a result. And this like $200, $300, $400 price tag, it's sort of serving, I don't say it's serving nobody, but the amount of people or the market for something like that is actually probably fairly small. You have people who want the cheap stuff. Just give me the info. I'll go with it. Just give me the cheap option. And then you have people who want to go really high. And so if I were you and I was starting my business now, I would have a premium one-on-one coaching offer where it's like $500 a month plus, and just be the best at one single transformation. You have a niche, you have a thing that you're the best at, and then just double down on that thing and charge accordingly. And then I would have low ticket DIY offers. I'd have little like $50, $100 protocol driven products. And I would start with those two things. Now the middle tier is sort of like a group coaching model. I don't think that's completely gone, but I do think that less people are sort of taking that because we are seeing people just feeling overwhelmed. We're seeing people just having like no time. We're seeing people have a little Zoom fatigue. So getting on the idea of getting on an hour-long Zoom every single week, it's like, it's overwhelming to people. And so it's not that that's completely gone, but I think people are willing to pay for more access at this point. So high ticket premium offer. And then maybe what's called a coaching pod or a mastermind or a mentorship or something like that, where people are paying a premium to be in a small group. So the number one question that I always get whenever I launch my mastermind or even Legacy, which is my intermediate course, people say, are you capping spots? They always ask that question. And the reason why is because they don't want to be 1 in 200 people in a mastermind. They want to be 1 in 12. They want to be 1 in 25. They want access to the coaching and they're willing to pay for it. So this last time we always cap Legacy at 30 people. I think we had about 45 people apply. It's an application process. We had about 45 people apply and we ended up turning away about 20 people. And We ended up extending invites to 25 people, I think, out of the 45, and we ended up with 23 total. So we have 23 people in the program, and it's a great group. It's a perfect size. Everyone gets a lot of FaceTime, a lot of attention from Shantae and I, and they also get to spend time with each other. It's not so big that they get lost in the crowd, they get lost in the shuffle. It's like it's a great size. My mastermind is 13 people. Now, I think 13's a little bit on the small side, but this is the first time I ran this iteration of it. So I'll probably bump it to 16 next time. But still, there's something really nice about that. Even the mastermind I'm in as a participant, last year, it was capped at 16 people. And so I was one of 16 or 18 businesses, and it felt really small. I actually got really close to a lot of people in it. This year, my mentor increased the number of businesses to 26 businesses. And when I say businesses, I mean, there's some like husband and wife, people who work. So there's a lot of people, there's like 40 some people in the group if you count all the husband and wife businesses. And it feels like a lot. And it's not that I don't regret it, obviously, but it definitely has a different feel than it did last year. And so put yourself in the shoes of what you would want. When I look at that, I'm like, yes, there is a great opportunity here. There's a market for this small, intimate container, whether it's a coaching pod, if it's a mastermind, a mentorship, someone wants to be one of the 12 people. They want to have one of the 25 spots, and they're willing to pay for it. So don't assume that everything, I think we're seeing a lot, especially right now with like all the uncertainty in the economy. We're seeing like, oh, you don't want to make sure your prices are cheap, make sure they're affordable. Like, yeah, there's always going to be people in your audience who need more affordable options, more accessible options, but there's always going to be people in your audience who have discretionary income and want the transformation. Again, when it comes to health and fitness, like this isn't going anywhere. It's not a luxury for a lot of people. It's like, no, this actually impacts my health and my sick cost and my sick time at work and all these kind of real serious bottom line metrics. There's always going to be that. And this is where I do see it. People are willing to pay more for more exclusivity. And so they're expecting more FaceTime with you. They're expecting more conversation ahead of the sale with you. Again, access is at its all-time high. So for example, like I've said this before, you can literally DM a celebrity on Instagram and maybe get a response, right? You can tweet at someone and maybe get a response from a celebrity who never had that level of access before. So people are expecting you to answer DMs. They're expecting to have a little more FaceTime before the sale. And I'm like, yeah, they should. And if you really want that sale, those who are willing to have more conversations in the DMs and be more accessible are going to make more money. Things that don't scale. So it's not that that's the only thing. Of course, you need to be able to scale in other places. So maybe that's where your low ticket offers come in, where you have something that's like $50, $100. Maybe you put that on an automated sales funnel. And that runs in the background. We have those running at JillFit, and we make sales every single day in our business in these small, low ticket offers. And then when I go for the mastermind, that's a lot more FaceTime with me, right? The mastermind is a $16,000 investment. They have a lot more FaceTime with me. And so people can choose one or the other, what's best for them. But I think having a high access and a low access is really hitting the mark right now. And you look at things like apps and text messages and even just, obviously WhatsApp and Voxer, which is voice chat, and Marco Polo, which are little video chats. And a lot of these platforms, Community, which is a platform for text message and marketing, all of these things are getting much, much bigger, and people are expecting more access. So, a text message, texting with your client back and forth, that's high touch, right? You got to charge for it. But apps, there's a lot of apps that have these built-in these built-in coaching prompts. Like every single day you're getting a little prompt that says, okay, Jill, go drink 8 ounces of water. Okay, Jill, go take 100 steps, right? It's like these little prompts that are built into the app to give you a notification to go and do a health behavior. So we are going to see a lot more of that. We see things like Garmin's and Overrings and Whoops and things like that are tracking biometrics. So people are feeling a lot more in touch with their health, and they're expecting that their health is being more integrated into their daily life. So you see apps or, things that are giving people these little prompts to do health behaviors, maybe even just gamifying it. If you think about that, I don't know, I'm looking at these, the ocular glasses, right? So people can get on there and they can like literally do sports and they can do dance and they can do all this kind of stuff. We're seeing a little bit more with like virtual reality and things like that. Any way to get people moving a little bit more that has a technological that like interrupts their day, to give them these little prompts to do health behaviors that makes it fun for them, that's built into their lifestyle. I think we're seeing a lot more of that too. But here's the thing, you can have all the virtual reality you want. People are still going to want personal connection, which is where if you're a coach and you have the capacity to do more conversation marketing, to be in your DMs more, to have things to do things that don't scale, you're always going to do well if you're willing to do that. Because as someone scaling, I can tell you this, I at all times have between 50 and 100 DMs on Instagram all the time. Like it just never goes away. And things slip through the cracks. I try to do my best, but I don't always hit the mark. But people who have a smaller following or just getting started have the capacity, maybe the time, they have the bandwidth to actually do a lot more with conversation marketing. So there's a lot here. Hopefully this is, again, obviously it's the future, so we can't ever predict, but this is sort of what we're seeing. There's going to be plenty of space for you guys. If you are not putting your footprint down, if you are not starting to build trust online, it is absolutely critical that you do that, because people are only purchasing from those that they know, like, and trust. And because there's so many more coaches and so many potential clients in the space, the matching system, the matching between client and coach is now more specific than ever. It's more specific than ever. So literally you and another coach can have the exact same credentials, but someone goes with you because you both like punk rock. Like that's literally what we're talking about. And so you have to start putting that personal brand down online and start rinse and repeating some of your messages so people know who they're signing up with. So one of the reasons, I'll just give you guys this insight, one of the reasons why I cuss on this podcast, and I mean, of course, I cuss in real life too, but the reason why I don't edit that out of these podcasts, or I don't try and not cuss on these podcasts, is because I want you guys to know who the fuck you're working with. Like it's a filtering system for me. I want you to know exactly who this is, so that if you do decide to enroll in FBA, there are no surprises. You came in with your eyes wide open, knowing exactly the vibe that you were going to get here, right? I'm strategic, I'm clinical, I'm direct, I do cuss. Like all of these things are important things to know about a coach that you're going to work with. I'm not saying my way is the best way. I'm saying you're going to have to figure out a way to get across your quirks so that people know who they're signing up with. There's plenty of room for everybody, but if they don't know who you are, how can they make an informed choice? So give them opportunities to see the real you. I hate the word authenticity, but like give them ways to see your authentic way of coaching, and then they will decide, is that for me or not? And for me, cussing it's polarizing. A lot of people are like, that's crass, or it makes you sound stupid or whatever. And just like, that is what it is. But that I am who I am. So that's why that when I have a podcast that's free, I have a lot of people who maybe are not my customers yet listening to it, but it's important that they know who they're working with. So any opportunity you guys have to be authentically yourself, to show your potential clients who they're getting is, and I know it sounds like it's like if you show exactly who you are, that maybe it's going to be a turnoff. That's always what we default to. Like, oh, if I show my real self, no one will like it. In fact, some people will be turned off, like me and the cussing, but a lot of people turned way more on as a result of that realness and that authenticity. So hopefully it makes sense to you guys. Speaking of working with me, we have the FBA launch coming up. The next time is going to be here in a couple of months. And so if you are thinking about potentially really increasing your time building your online business, FBA is my beginner course for those in year 0 to 2 of internet business. I don't assume that you know how to do anything online. So when people say, okay, Jill, but I'm really a beginner, I'm like, yes, this is really a beginner course. I promise you. The way that I teach is sort of very like patient, and I walk you through everything. I never want you to be wondering what you should be doing. So we have a lot of fun together. If you are interested in learning more and you have not done FBA yet, please go to jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. That's jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist to get all the early details about the FBA launch. If you are on the waitlist, you're going to get preferential treatment. You will get early details. You will also get an exclusive discount that no one else gets. So make sure you guys are on that. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer those for you. You can always find me on Instagram at JillFit or on Instagram at FitBizU. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.